Welcome back to the IBSP. Here's your host, Foxy New.
Eddy Reynoso over Bomac. And look, let's break it down honestly and objectively as possible. And when you look at the two trainers, Eddy Reynoso and Brian Bomac McIntyre, both of these trainers are elite. Both of these trainers are Hall of Fame trainers. And both of these trainers are great trainers. Both of these guys are great at their craft. They're special guys. And they're both once in a generation teachers. So taking nothing away from either one of these guys, both of these guys are extremely talented, and on any given day, both of these guys can outthink the other. So I don't want to take away from either one of these guys. I'm not trying to trash either one of these guys. I respect both, and I think both are excellent and great in their own ways. But with that being said, I do believe, based on the evidence, that Eddy Reynoso is the overall better trainer than Bomac, and this is why. One, when I look at Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford and I compare these two guys, I look at these two guys and I say, look, Terence Crawford has a height advantage over Canelo, has a reach advantage over Canelo, has a speed advantage over Canelo. So think about it. Brian Bomac McIntyre has had Terence Crawford, in the vast majority of his fights, had a reach advantage and a speed advantage over the vast majority of his opponents. In a good portion of his opponents, he had a height advantage as well. But with Eddy Reynoso and Canelo Alvarez, Canelo was always at a disadvantage. Canelo was always at a height advantage 99% of the time. He was always at a reach disadvantage 99% of the time. And he was at a speed disadvantage 99% of the time. So what Eddy Reynoso was able to accomplish with Canelo Alvarez, considering that he was at all these disadvantages, is truly remarkable and legendary. I have to give all the credit in the world to Eddy Reynoso for a miraculous job he did with Canelo Alvarez. No hate, no shade thrown at Bomac, but these are just simply facts. Not only that, when you look at Terence Crawford's resume, you see that Terence Bud Crawford, his resume, his best fighter is Errol Spence Jr. That's the biggest and best name on his resume. And his hardest, most difficult fight on his resume is Israel Madrimov, with, I believe, about 11 fights, who won a vacant title. And many people felt like Terence Crawford lost that fight, or at the very best, it should have been a draw. So when I look at that resume and I look at the level of competition, Jeff Horn, Jose Benavidez Jr., Amir Khan, Kavalauskas, Awash Brook, Awash Porter, David Avanesian, D-level David is what we call him. So when you look at this entire resume and you see all of these fighters, no disrespect to Bud Crawford, but if Canelo Alvarez fought this level of competition, he would have a 100% knockout rate and he would be undefeated right now, because Canelo Alvarez fights at a higher level of competition and is more successful at that level. Bud doesn't know what the Canelo Alvarez level of competition is like. So I'm just stating facts. When we look at Canelo's resume, Bud Crawford has never fought a guy like Triple G. He's never fought a guy like Dimitri Bivol. He's never fought a guy like Erislandy Lara in his prime, Floyd Mayweather, Caleb Plant, Danny Jacobs, or even Billy Joe Saunders. He's never fought a guys those size, with those skills and those abilities at those weights. And Terence Crawford is a guy who has physical advantages over Canelo, and he's never fought guys at those levels or those sizes. So let's just be honest and unbiased about it. I mean, at the end of the day, we can't make no excuses. These are simply just facts. And if Terence Crawford fought that level of competition consistently, that's on Canelo's resume, he'd have at least 10 losses, and he'd already been knocked out 4 to 5 times. Let's just be honest. And that's taking nothing away from Terence Crawford, but that's why Terence has to fight at a lower weight class to be as successful as he has been, because he simply cannot compete at the level at which Canelo Alvarez does. And this is including the fact that Canelo Alvarez is at a severe disadvantage when you compare him to Bud. He's at a height disadvantage, a reach disadvantage, and a speed disadvantage. And with all those disadvantages, Eddy Reynoso is able to get a much better elite fighter in Canelo Alvarez that's able to fight at a higher level of competition than Terrence Bud Crawford. That's no shade, that's no hate, because if Canelo fought a guy like Israel Madrimov with 11 fights, he would have been stopped easily within 6 rounds. It's not even comparable. I mean, let's just be honest. Canelo Alvarez wipes his ass with that level of opponent on a regular basis. I mean, let's just be real. And this is a Canelo that's constantly at a disadvantage. No hate, no shade. Much respect to both trainers. Bomac's elite, Eddy Reynoso's elite, but the only one that's the best has to be Eddy Reynoso.